Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we'd like to present our paper on addressing the challenges of remote collaboration for language documentation in Nigeria. Our team includes 6 people. Each of us works on a different language. These languages are listed here. I am Lora, and I work on Kugama. DGM, Chika works on DGM. He's online. Miracle works on Burak. She's here, and she's going to take over later. Nlabephee works on Za, his mother language. He's also online. Kam is studied by Jakob. He's here in the audience. And Jerim is studied by Olga. So, here are some pictures of the communities we work with, and we're very thankful for them for making this work possible. We also would like to thank our sponsors. So, Nigeria is a multilingual country with over 500 languages spoken there. As you can see on the map 1 and 2, we show the amount of languages that have a grammar and the amount of languages that do not have a grammar. On the third map, we show the number of Nigerian languages that have collections in the ELDP archive. Clearly, there is a lot of work to be done. And probably it will take decades for us to change the situation. And we think it's very important to explore other ways to speed up the process of language documentation and description in Nigeria. And we believe that one of the ways to improve the situation is to introduce and include in our projects remote collaboration with the language communities. Today I would like to share some solutions for doing remote collaboration with language communities. And we will focus on setting up the ground team, compensation agreements. We'll also talk about training and logistics in Nigeria. And we will end our presentation of how to follow up remote fieldwork.
Okay, thank you, Laura, for introducing our topic. So as my colleague just said, these are the steps that we think would be necessary for a successful remote collaboration. So I will talk about the first 2 steps, setting up a ground team. So since you want to include a remote component to your documentation project, you would have to do these things whilst on the field. Because once you leave, these are the kind of people that we are going to be working with, or these are the people that would be working on your behalf once you are not in the language community. So first, we propose that you find a navigator. So this is a person that is the link between you and then the language community. And this person should be someone that has a good standing with the community. Because if the community members don't like him, it would be difficult for the project. And this person should also be able to travel. So for instance, for my project, I can go to Nigeria, but I cannot go to the language community because it's a red zone and I'm not permitted officially to go there as a researcher. So for my navigator, I would need someone that can travel out of the language community to come and meet me, even when I'm in Nigeria. And this navigator should also be able to be someone that would be able to help other members of the team. Once you have your navigator, it's also best to get a transcriber. And we propose that if you are lucky enough and you have someone who is a computer literate, that would be your best bet for this kind of work. And the person should also be able to learn computer-related software. And if you are really blessed, the person might be a linguist. And the third person you would need is an audio-visual recorder, because now you are no longer in the community, but you want the work to keep going on, because maybe you have a 3-year project and you can travel 3 times to the language community. And this person would help you with video recordings whilst in the community. And the person should be able to set up a recording equipment, and then in the right configuration, if possible, a person with prior experience with video recording. So one would ask, how would you find the best team? In Nigeria, networking is everything. You have to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, because you have limited amounts of time in the field to do all this work. And you want to also keep working once you are no longer on the field. So it's better that you know, if the community members know the kind of people that you are looking for, they might even say, oh, this person, he's a computer literate. This person, he used to work in the project, he knows how to record audios. This person might be able to transcribe, so that the native speakers themselves would connect you with the people they think fit into the criteria that you are looking for. And once you have these potential team members, you would have to arrange trial sessions with them, because these are just recommendations from native speakers, and you would want to have practical sessions with them to see if they are actually the people that you would need. So during these practical sessions, we iterate that it's not important to mention money at this, because the economy is really hard. And so if you go and say, I have money, I want someone that can do an audio recording, even I would say, I can do, but probably I can't. So we think in order to get someone that you really would need, you don't have to mention money at this point. Once you have your team members, you would have to compensate them for their time that they would be working with you on your project. And it's better to align these compensations with the reality of the local economy, because things are really hard in Nigeria at the moment, and not even in Nigeria, but in Africa at the moment. So you can think of different compensation schemes. It could be monthly or it could be daily. If you'd want a monthly compensation, we propose that your offer should be above the minimum wage with at least 50%. This is because the minimum wage, it's not realistic looking at the economic situation. So in Nigeria, you have Gary. Gary to the Nigerians is like maybe pasta to the Italians or croissant to the French. So if the person is working with you and then you are giving the person the minimum wage that cannot even buy the basic food that they eat in Nigeria, then it's not really realistic. It's not a realistic compensation. And for daily compensation, you can consider the daily wage in the area and add at least 70%. Maybe most native speakers in my language community are farmers. So if I want to work with my native speaker for a day, I say, how much would you get if you go to the farm today? And he says, maybe I get 10,000 naira. I said, don't go, I would give you double. So that one, he knows that I know that I have his full attention. And then there should also be clear terms and expectations should be drawn. This is in order to build trust between you and then the people that you are working with. You have to be explicit on the amounts that people would receive as compensation and clarify what this amount is intended for. So I'm paying you this amount, not because I like you so much, but just because we are working and then you deserve to get value for the information that you give to me. So people know that they are getting the money for the work that is being done. So if they tell people that I was paid, they know they were paid for work, and you would not have an issue where people will come to you, you give this person money, where is mine? And it's also best to set up compensations in a stable currency, because once you agree that you are paying them in Naira, by the time you leave the field, the Naira would have inflated, and now you will not be able to give them the exact amount. But if you say I'm paying in Euro, whether it's inflation or deflation, the person knows that she said she was giving me 200 euros, and that is what she gave me. She was fair enough. So my colleague would continue with the training.
Thank you. So now that you have your team, you want to do some kind of team building exercise so that they get to know each other. And everyone who's done ELDP training, where's the clicker? Sorry. Knows how important it is. So take your time for training and develop a training schedule in advance. You can use fantastic ELDP training materials, or you can use the schedule that Jakob designed for his CAM project. The link is over there. The idea of this training session is mainly to practice, to get to know each other and to give each other feedback, and to sort of notice each other's mistakes and learn from them. It's great to give in the end a folder with materials, with something similar that like ELR guides that people can refer to once you're gone. And it's great to have this folder with materials and also a certificate. People in Nigeria really appreciate an official paper proving the fact that you participated and you completed the training. So you do the first one rather in groups where you concentrate on documentation and on recording, and the second part of the training would be data processing. And we recommend to do this one-on-one because there's less peer pressure and people can make their own mistakes. They usually learn how to work with software, and you want to give them some time to get into it and to think about what the problems are. So while they're doing that, you can use the time to check what kind of mistakes they're making, and you can update the guides that you're leaving them with. So usually there are some very common mistakes, and you should describe these. Next point, our point number 4 is something that whenever you meet in person from Nigeria, no matter where, you're bound to talk about electricity and internet, or rather a lack thereof. So with internet, it's actually not so bad. I was surprised to see that almost every Nigerian person, no matter how remotely, has a mobile phone and is connected to the internet. But electricity is a bigger problem. So you might ask yourself how to charge. How do the people charge their phones, and where do they get internet phone from? In Nigeria, there are cyber shops, cyber cafes, and some charging outlets where you can go and give them your laptop if you trust enough to get it back, or you gave them your phone. You probably want to have a backup before you do that, because electricity is very unstable. Electricity can disappear 15 times easily per day. And when you're giving your phone away, it might happen that you will not get it back because it will be fried by the time you get back and it's charged. You can also, as an alternative, it's actually the best, most recommendable alternative, rely on solar energy. There's plenty of sun in Nigeria, especially during the dry season. For the rainy season, you could use power banks, or you could also use generators. But generators might cost you a lot. So when I arrived in Nigeria, it was exactly June 23. When I left in Nigeria, it was exactly August 23. While we were on the road, we saw how the gas prices were going up. So be careful with a generator. Even if you will tell your team, buy yourself a generator, here's money for fuel, it might become so expensive that they will consider it unaffordable and inappropriate. With the internet, you need internet for communication and for data transfer. You can buy mobile phones and routers for your team, and you will need to buy subscriptions for that. But if you rely on the local service providers, the coverage is different for each of them, and you might not be able to get internet everywhere. You could get a Starlink. One of our team members, Nlabephee, has successfully installed a Starlink for his project in the village, and it sort of not just gave people internet, but it created kind of office-like hub where people would meet and work together on the project. Last point, we talked about having a navigator, so a person who can travel, who mediates the project, who keeps up with the project, monitors the goals, the progress. You keep in touch with this person constantly, and I think one of the biggest issues that I had throughout 1 year of remote collaboration with my community was the ELAN update. Whenever there's an ELAN update, work stops. So you need a person to be able to install an ELAN update or fix the charger or whatever the problem is. And another solution how to keep your project going is, of course, ongoing communication. I don't really need to sell you this point. How you could do it, I do not recommend any programs like Slack or any clunky stuff. I'd say keep it simple. You can use a group chat like that. You can not only communicate with your navigator, but also with the other team members. They stay informed about the goals, but they also can encourage each other. And you don't just talk about work, but ask about how their husbands and wives are doing. And really nice, what you can do, you can establish some kind of workflow within the chat. And this is one of the examples from Jakob's project that I particularly like. So Jakob sends ideas and he creates a pool of possible projects, possible recording topics, and each of the participants, each of the team members can choose their own. They can choose what they are interested in most, or maybe they know a knowledgeable person and they can make a recording about this topic. Usually, people do not ask exactly the same questions that Jakob came up with. They come up with their own more suitable questions, making it methodologically more appropriate. But they can use it as a sort of structure or idea pool to develop their own further ideas. To sum up, we talked about networking. Networking is the most important thing in Nigeria, and you want to have a person you can rely on, maybe a flexible person, maybe even just a good friend you can keep in touch with, who's computer literate and can help out. And you want to be transparent and clear with your agreements, and you have to make sure you set up good infrastructure for your team, and you should communicate regularly. Thank you.
Well done.
So thank you very much. We'll have time for some very short questions.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I was wondering how you deal with the money issues that, you know, it might cause certain problems within the community. So how do you deal with those kind of issues that can come up when money is brought to these communities?
Okay, I would try to answer how I deal with money issues in my project. So for me, when I went to the community, I didn't initially tell them about the money. So the money issue was an agreement between the members that were already part of my team. If you are not part of the team, maybe from my own personal money, and then maybe if you've helped me in the community, I could help you out with some things, but then they officially know that I am a student and then I'm working on a project. I'm not the one funding myself, so my money is for the work that is supposed to be done. And I have to account for every kind of compensation that I give to my funders, so they understand. And so that's how I deal with it.
Communication.
Your explanations for dealing with money are beautiful. I've worked in Northwest Nigeria. My wife has worked in Northwest Nigeria longer. And my question comes, sometimes when you come to a community, you're seen as the patron. They come to you with other problems that now you are responsible to solve in some way. And it's not inside the project, but it's outside the project, but maybe it impacts maybe I have a sick child or something like this. And so how do you navigate those sorts of issues to keep your team on track or pacing and coherent?
That's cool. Okay, so I don't know if maybe someone would add, but then for me, I think that the first thing you should do is to let the members of the community know who you are, and then what you can do and what you cannot do. So for me, they know that I am a student, and I'm working on a project, and then I am being funded by people. So if my consultant tells me that maybe my child is sick, of course I care for my consultant. And they tell me maybe I want to take my child to the hospital, I let them know that my funding cannot afford for this, but then from my own personal money, and then as someone that is my friend, this is what I can support you with at the time being. So, and it really helps, because at least maybe not the full amount that the person needs, but then the little care that you show, let the person knows that, oh, okay, at least this person is not really interested in using me as a tool to collect her data, but she also cares about me and my family. But then from the beginning, I let them know that I'm not rich, so they don't have really high expectations of me when it comes to those aspects. Because once you start doing it, they tell people, oh, she took care of my wife's operation, and then now the whole village would be coming to you, like, my wife is in the maternity, like, can you help us? My child is going to the university, can you help us? No, once they know that you cannot afford it, with time, it decreases the amount of things they would expect from you.
I also want to briefly say, so all of us work in northeastern Nigeria. I have heard, so I have not worked in northwestern Nigeria, but I have heard that there is very different attitudes towards, like, asking for assistance, asking for financial assistance. In the Northeast, sometimes it's considered as shameful. So many people will, if people need it, they might come to you and say, like, oh, I'm so sorry for bothering you. I really don't want to ask you this, and please tell me if what I'm doing is inappropriate. So this might really impact also how we talked about the project, because maybe if we would have all been working on a Northwestern Nigerian language, we would have had to address that more, more in detail.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's thank our speakers again.